Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home every day.
Now here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Springer.
Oh,
thank you.
can you all see back there? Oh, yeah, okay.
And I
It's a
had
good
to
thing they
say
have the
that.
Jumbotron here so the people way back there can see.
And I had to say, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Springer, because once
Yeah,
again,
where is she?
Megan Hills, and I knew nothing of this, is not here.
Is this another vacation day?
I think well, I don't think it should be, but
No.
she is on her 11th cruise since January, actually.
This is ridiculous.
And I've asked David Pruce, our technical producer of Ambient Studios, to call her, and I said, get her on the phone.
She knows we do this on Tuesday
She
evenings.
does know.
Yeah.
And I think
she takes a
we
vacation
may
every other
have
week.
her on the line. Megan Hills, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Jane.
Oh, and
Well,
listen, there's a hesitation.
I know
Yeah,
you're there, but you're not here.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm on vacation because it's my time to go on vacation again.
Unbelievable. Isn't it? And I've been keeping track here. I think you were on, and there was Belize, there was Cancun, there was there was the Alaskan
Belize,
cruise.
Alaska,
And
South
my
China.
My counts has it at 11. This is your 11th cruise.
14.
14. 14 is worse.
It's not worse. That's not worse. That's
No.
what Jerry and I talked about before I ever got hired. I don't understand what the problem is.
So this is the question I have to you, Jerry, is when you hired Megan,
It was your business plan. Your
Well,
It was
wonderful
Gene's business plan,
And
to
how
be
many
fair.
weeks vacation do you give somebody?
well,
17, according to Gene's.
17
business plan.
vacations, and they're not like single-day vacations.
Yeah, 17 weeks of
17
vacation.
weeks. 17
Well,
weeks.
that's 1/3 of the year.
Well, look, Megan, could you be back here next week?
I mean, I'm hoping to,
Can you
Gene. I'm
turn
really
the boat
hoping
around?
to.
All right. If
We'll
there's,
see. We'll see how
It's
the
a ship.
goes.
It's not a boat,
if
right?
there's not a
It's a
Zika
ship.
crisis on the ship, if there's not
It's a
engine,
ship.
It is a ship, right?
Yeah,
Right.
So
right.
please, we hope to see you next week, and
it would be. Yeah.
Thank you from, I guess it was probably a ship-to-shore call.
Who's
etc.
paying for this call?
Yeah,
You are, Jerry, of course.
Oh, my
Thank
God.
you. Appreciate
I guess
it.
that's part of the
That's
business
the
plan.
Galvin
okay, thank
business
you.
plan.
Megan Hills, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Enjoy your
Megan.
trip.
Enjoy yourself.
Love you guys.
All right, bye-bye. You know,
Bye.
what that makes me
This
think
is-
of? I think that your staff is so out of control. And I was thinking...
This was you. You're in charge here in terms of hiring.
I'm the
people.
producer of the show. I'm
Right.
not...
So
I
you-
guess that maybe that does include that.
Yeah,
I got to get that business plan
On my
written
show,
down.
we run a tight ship.
Well, let's just check that out. Okay, I know... I'm not going to use her last name because I don't want people stalking her, but I know Jenna.
Yes.
And Jenna is your personal assistant.
I know Jenna.
I know.
Jenna is no Megan. Jenna is a friend of mine.
No,
Go ahead.
Jenna
I
and
got the
Megan
whole
are
thing
both
wrong.
incredibly
Yeah, they're
cool.
both great. Yes.
David Pruce, I'm going to ask our technical producer if he would get Jenna on the line. I'm going to test something. I'd like to see if Jenna has 17 weeks of vacation. David's signaling me he has her. Jenna, hello, how are you?
Hey, Gene, I'm good. How are you?
That's Jenna. Jenna,
Hey,
Jerry's
Jenna.
that's his actual.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, she is my assistant, and we were together earlier today in Stamford, Connecticut. we
Because
did
you
shows.
do your. This is Tuesday.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
I have dealt with her as well through my business with you a number of times. She's amazingly competent, very pleasant, very easy to work with.
Yeah.
No drama, Obama kind of person.
It's
Very cool. And Jenna, Megan Hills, who works for this podcast, is on a cruise again. She's
Again?
14 cruises since January. Now,
That has to be a record.
that has to be a record, Jenna. I agree.
Well, yeah, but we don't want to do that, do we, Jenna? That's wrong. We don't need that much time off, Jenna.
Well,
No, we don't need.
yeah, no, I love working 365 days a year.
See, that's the way it works at the Jerry Springer Show. That's what she's saying.
You
She
come in
works-
every day?
Yeah, right.
I am on call every day.
Well, we just do shows Mondays and Tuesdays.
Your calendar is full, Mr. Springer. You are doing something every day.
Well,
she's making that happen. She's the person.
You're the one. Do you type that up?
That is me. I am the little elf in the night who makes it all happen.
Well, that's great, but you get vacations, don't you? I have no idea what.
Jenna.
Jerry, you're a busy guy. You hardly have vacations. And when you're on vacation, I'm really working for your next event, your next month of, political meetings, shows, news appearances.
That's all true, by the way, isn't it, Jenna? That is true. I mean, when we were at the Democratic Convention, you were on the ground keeping track of everything. That's actually true. She did a great job, Jerry. We got a schedule every day, and we kept feeding stuff.
We give her, but you get a vacation, don't you? I'm feeling guilty now. You don't get vacation?
Guilty.
Does the company?
Well, I do get vacation, but I'm on call. So I don't get to take 14 cruises from January like Megan.
Thank you.
This podcast thing's looking pretty good.
I hear ya. I'm going to try to figure out how I get some of these vacations,
I think we got to get
too.
you and Megan together and having a good old-fashioned smackdown.
And actually, they would get along
Ooh.
very well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry, I think you have some WWE stuff coming up on your schedule, so maybe we can
There
talk
you
to that.
go.
Yeah, we'll put you guys
There
on
you
Monday
go.
Night Raw.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Jenna.
Hey, thanks, Jen. Hey, back to work.
Yeah, back to work.
I was just going to say, I have a lot to do. Thanks, guys. Thanks for asking, Gene.
Absolutely. We love having you on. See you, Jenna. That's
Bye.
Jenna.
She does. Yeah.
She is so cool.
She does a great job. I mean, just balancing all the crazy stuff.
Hey, let me ask you
Yes.
something.
Yes, Gene.
What was your first job, by the way?
The very first job I had was, but it was only a couple of weeks a year. I was a ball boy at the West Side Tennis Club in Forest Hills, New York, for the tennis championships. And it wasn't yet an open. Back then, they were all amateurs. And it was 1957, 58, 59, and 60.
What came after that?
And then Dunkin' Donuts.
You're kidding.
I worked at Dunkin'. I was in charge of filling the donuts. No, there was. No, I'm serious. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and once in a while I worked at the counter, but then they put me in the back, and they had this tub of cream, and I would take the donut, hold the donut there, insert, and then
Pump it in.
Pump it in, pump in the
So
cream.
You made cream donuts.
You think that was easy? And I did that. Now, the first day I'm at Dunkin' Donuts, and I probably was a junior in high school, maybe a senior. And the first day I'm there, I figure, this is great, because they had like 57 kind of donuts there back then. I don't know, they may still.
I think they still do.
Yeah, tons of donuts. And so I said, are we allowed, what's the rule about, are we allowed to eat the donuts, while you're there? And the guy said, you can eat as many as you want. I'm figuring, this is great. Now, this is not a joke. This is a true story. So the first day there, oh, my gosh, I ate this, I ate that. I ate about 13, 14 donuts.
Like that, just on the spot.
That night, I threw up the entire night. But so sick that, honestly, for years, I never had donuts again. The smell of them, it was horrible. And that's how they cure it. So they tell every new employee, eat as many as you want, knowing full well that it really works.
That made me think of my high school prom. And when I went to the prom, I'm getting all excited. I'm going to this prom. Had a date with somebody I really wanted to go to the prom with. And the first thing I did, Jerry, is I went to a tuxedo store. Yeah. And I go in, and I was going to get measured for a tux, get a tux like you do when you go to a prom. And I was probably in there for like an hour and a half because there was a huge line. It was, I guess, like prom season. I leave there after an hour and a half. I go over to nearby in the city that I lived in was a place where you could rent limousines. And I had made some money from my part-time job. And I go in to get a limousine for the prom, and a huge line there, just like the tuxedo place. Took forever. I leave there. I go to a florist to get my date corsage, and there was a long line there. Unbelievable, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, Jane.
And then I go to the prom, and the prom, Jerry, was wonderful. Everybody's, I got my date laughing, and I'm a great dancer, so I'm dancing with her, and she's just having such a great time. The whole thing kind of came together, and it was wonderful. And at one point, she said, I'm having so much fun, I'm kind of thirsty, and I said, I'll go over to the punch table, and I went to the punch table, and there is no punch line.
Oh.
This is pathetic. This is, there are people at this moment sitting in their cars.
Why did I waste those 3 minutes?
3 minutes. Then we're never going to get back again.
Never.
We're never going to go
Hey, by
back
the
again.
way.
I had no luck. Well, I was stood up at my prom.
I didn't know what happened.
Well, Phoebe, she called. I think I told the story. I had a date. I had never had a date in high school. I mean, never. Not like once in a while.
Never
I
had a date.
No dates. And then, my sister said, Gerald, everyone's going to, you go to the prom, call up a girl. And I was shy, I didn't know. So I wrote out what I was going to say. I was going to call this girl Phoebe because in fairness, and no slight on Phoebe, but she didn't have any dates either. So I figured this would be a good one to call because she, she was kind of like me. So I wrote out what I was going to say. Back then we had party lines on the telephones. And
meaning that multiple people use the
would
same
use
line.
So you had to pick it up and make sure no one else was
on
talking
it.
on it.
But someone else could pick it up while you're on
Right.
and listen.
Yeah. So now,
Wow.
good. No one was on the phone. I'm nervous. I got my speech laid out in front of me. I dial, and I guess Phoebe's parents, one of the parents, answered the phone, and they said, Phoebe, it's for you. And who is it? It's Gerald. Oh, boy. So now I start reading my speech. What I didn't count on, that she would talk too.
You didn't leave the spaces in the
No.
script.
So when she stuck, I then lost my place. I had to start all over again every time. I don't know how many times you said, hi, Phoebe, this is Gerald. I'm in your class. Would you like to? Anyway.
Was the prom great when you
Well,
she
let me
went?
tell you what happened. She said yes, she would go.
Yeah.
And then the day before the prom, so I go out, I rent a tuxedo.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm going to have a date.
Long lines there, I understand.
And they weren't long lines there, but I got it. The day before, she calls and says she's not feeling well. She won't be going.
Whoa.
Well, how do you know how you're going to feel tomorrow?
No, you don't know.
And so I spent, this is God's truth, the night of the senior prom, my parents felt so bad for me, they took me to the Turnpike restaurant where
Yeah.
I'm having dinner with Mom and Dad at the turn on Queens Boulevard in New York on the night of the prom. And I'm sitting there in my tuxedo with Mom and Dad.
I think this is where we all go, oh.
It was pathetic. But
Yeah,
things got better because about a week later, on the part of this young woman called up and she says, Gerald? I said, yeah. And she was being really nice to me. I think you're a really nice guy or whatever. And she said, no one's home. Why don't you come on over? Oh, my God. I got nervous. I didn't know what to tell my parents. So I went on over, and she was right. No one was home.
It's funny. When we were coming up here, you came up the steps, and I went back to make sure the car was locked, and I saw a guy, and I actually knew this guy from way back, and he said, hey, check this out. This is the best hearing aid money could buy, and he showed me, and I said, well, what kind is it? And he said, oh, 430. No, but anyway, so I wanted to ask you something. You said something, and by the way, let's hear it for the Beck family because there are a bunch of Beck family members in the house tonight. And also...
And let me say, when I, talk about my plane...
Yes, that's what I wanted to bring up, by the way.
Nothing compared to...
No, I wanted to mention...
And a bunch of them. He's got a fleet.
He has many, many planes, and actually I was privileged to get a ride on his plane with my first wife, Bonnie, and when I was on there, I realized, oh, that plane's much nicer than yours. Oh, much nicer. much nicer and probably way more expensive. I'm just, friend to friend, but don't you think? Hey, no. And like,
It is.
how much
It's
like
very.
hey,
it's,
let me
it's
ask you
nice.
something.
Yes.
Aren't there now 13 hole golf courses?
Well,
What's that all about?
I don't know if they're built yet, but it is because we were all with the Becks over the weekend for annual weekend up in Charlevoix, which is beautiful there, and we have a wonderful time. And we always, talk about playing golf, and so we got into this discussion. Jack, and I'm frankly, 18 holes of golf is more than I want to do anymore. I mean, there was a time that I kind of enjoyed. Now it's really tiring. So I like to go out and play golf, but if you only play 9 holes, they kind of think you're a little wimpy. You're not gonna, And so Jack Nicklaus is actually now designing 13-hole golf courses because they're finding out in the marketplace a lot of people think that 18 holes of golf really is too much. If you're not a, professional player or someone who really plays all the time and really into the sport, being out there, it takes the whole day. You're away from it's the weekend, you're away from their family, 18 holes. You're talking about 5-6 hours by the time you go back and forth and have a drink afterwards. So it literally takes the whole day. So he's kind of got a good marketing idea that he will design 13-hole golf courses. So it's a little more than 9, so you kind of feel that you're really playing. But and I thought that was just a great idea. I think it might. I think it's a great concept because not so many young people today are playing golf compared to what it was a bunch of years ago.
I bet if they look at, maybe they've done this and it's akin to a business plan, but look at what do the statistics show of the level of play and the economic viability today of country clubs and golf courses. I know country clubs are way down.
Well, they're all
struggling to get people just to join and then to stay in and pay the fees to keep them up. And maybe it is an act of economic desperation. They'll try to change it to 13 to see
sure.
if they
They're
can
trying all
hold
kinds
on.
of marketing things, and that could be a good idea. I mean, if it was 13 holes, I'd go play.
And speaking of sports, Colin Kaepernick,
The
quarterback, San Francisco 49ers. He's kind of a backup quarterback now, and that might relate to this whole thing. But what did you think of what he did the other day?
He has now 2 games in a row not stood for the national anthem, which has created a furor. And the reason he's not standing is that he is protesting what is happening in our country. As he says, there are bodies in the street, and the police officers involved aren't losing pay, and his words, there's murder going on, and just the whole way that the black-white issue is being dealt with on the streets with law enforcement, and Black Lives Matter, the whole bit. And so he is saying he doesn't want to stand for while they're playing the national anthem because it's his way to protest that this is not something he is proud of, that America should be proud of, and he doesn't want to salute the flag while that is going on. It is, you can imagine, there is much protest to the fact that, and a lot of people are tying it into the military, saying, all these young men and women who have given their lives and others who are risking their lives for our country, it's a sign of disrespect that when you play the national anthem, whatever your politics are, whatever your view of a particular issue is, the one thing we should all get together as a nation is that when you play the national anthem, you stand up and show respect. He's chosen not to do that. My view of that is, number one, the beauty of our country, the beauty of the flag, the beauty of the national anthem is that it gives people the right not to stand. So that's the first thing. So even if you're angry at him for not standing, and it's not a position you would take, in our country, that is perfectly acceptable. If that is your way of protesting, and it's peaceful, you can do it. It's like people who won't pledge allegiance to the flag. That's what the flag stands for. Your right not to pledge allegiance to it. Now, if it's me, I would stand up. I always stand up when they play the national anthem. And I think what I would say to him if I was sitting with him, saying, I'm on your side a lot on the issue, not totally, but a lot on the issue. But if everybody who had a complaint about how our society was, we would never have people standing up during the national anthem. Well, no one would pledge allegiance to the flag because everybody's got some beef about our country. You know, we have had discrimination in our country. I mean, obviously, first slavery, and then the discrimination of not permitting African Americans to sit at the same lunch counter, go to the same movie theaters, be in the same restaurant, or stay at the same hotels. We had all of that. And yet people were standing for the national anthem. In other words, America is an idea, and it is a goal. It is a journey to which we hope one day to aspire. We aspire now, and one day we would achieve. But when you celebrate the national anthem and the American flag, we are celebrating the journey to get to the place we ought to be. But we're never going to have a nation if the only time we're going to pledge allegiance and honor the national anthem is when America is perfect. It won't be. We're human beings. You can't have that perfection. You try to get there. That's what we're celebrating. So what I would say to Colin Kaepernick is, I respect your right to protest. I even admire the risk you're taking. There's some horrible things that have been said about him now. But remember Muhammad Ali? Remember how he was the most hated man in America. This was before people turned against the Vietnam War. All of a sudden, he's one of the sacred titles in sports back then was to be heavyweight champion of the world. And here he was coming, an African American, to be heavyweight champion of the world, but he was saying, oh, by the way, I'm no longer Cassius Clay, I'm now Muhammad Ali, I am now a Muslim. And I will not step forward to be drafted. I will not go to Vietnam. And the price for that is I will lose my title and I will go to prison. My professional life is over. We hated Muhammad Ali. And let's admit, within the last decade, he's probably was, he died this past year, the most honored private citizen in America. We all were proud when he had the Olympic, lit the Olympic torch back in '96. So with all the venom that is being spewed at Colin Kaepernick for taking his position, step back for a second. No one is suggesting that it is something you have to do. But to respect someone who is paying a price, and believe me, he is paying a price. My guess is, his football career is almost over. He certainly has lost all revenue he would ever get from for endorsements. No product is going to touch him now. So he has basically made a calculated decision. I believe in this so much, I am willing to lose my economic viability, at least at the stratosphere that it was at. I mean, he was a Super Bowl quarterback. That takes a hell of a lot of guts. So I don't have to agree with him for the method he chose. But boy, I have a hard time not respecting someone that is willing to stand for what they believe, do it in a nonviolent way, and pay a price. He's not asking for a free ride for his protest. He is paying a price. I can honestly say, I don't know if I ever did that. I don't know if I ever paid that price.
Yeah, good comments. Hey, by the way, we just came from I guess you'd call it a house party for Hillary Clinton in a suburb of Cincinnati, neighborhood in Cincinnati. And that was really good, and Jerry Springer made some motivating comments there. And we also have on our website a link through to Hillary, to connect with Hillary if somebody, because we're unabashedly supporters of Hillary Clinton. And also on our website, I'm trying to find 2 other drivers to join me to set the world record for how many miles you can put on a rental car for the Guinness Book of Record. It's called unlimited mileage. And I will tell you, Jerry, I'll report after you and Megan, I thought it was very rude, said, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I don't want to spend a week driving around with me all over America, virtually nonstop. Stop to go to restrooms in McDonald's, get breakfast, lunch, and dinner at McDonald's. And because they give a time-stamped receipt for the meals, and that's how I would prove, because you have to prove it to the Guinness Book
for
of
someone
Records.
that hadn't heard this last week, what you're doing, you want to set the Guinness Book of Records for putting on the most miles on a rental car
That has unlimited mileage.
that has unlimited mileage
Right,
for 1 week.
for 1 week. And
And you're going to drive all around America,
wherever you want to go.
never stopping
Can
the
you
car
imagine?
except for gas, because
That's it.
you got to set the record. Well,
That's
you'll
it.
set the record when you go 2 miles, because there is no record in the Guinness Book.
Well,
for
there
that.
is none, but
You're
I
gonna
want to
set-
set the record. I want to do sort of like Pete Rose, 42.97. Was that what it was?
No, 42.91.
42.90.
41.92.
41.92.
41.92.
That's it. 41.92 hits, and I want to set it.
That was Ty Cobbs. He broke it, and I think it's 41.
Oh yeah, he hit more than that by the time he was done.
Yeah, 41.55 or something.
But I want to set the
42.55.
level where it can't be broken. And the way
Yeah.
it would work is,
And
you know,
why?
we would
We just finished talking about Colin Kaepernick, who's sacrificing his whole career for a cause, and your cause is to set the record in the Guinness Book of World Records for putting the most miles on a rental.
Boy, see,
For what purpose?
You have no vision. You probably would have stood if
This
you
is the stupidest idea I ever
if
heard.
you ever went to Kathmandu and you looked up at about 30,000 foot
Yes.
Mount Everest, and you'd probably say, "Who cares?" And others of us would say, "We must climb it."
Yes, because it's there. And
Because
you want to
it's
do
there.
the unlimited mileage because it is there.
I suppose, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's there. Because well, it's not there. It will be after I do it.
Yeah.
So again, I appeal, and I obviously, and I'm looking at the back row of the Beck cousins back
Yeah.
there that are the cousins and the nephews and nieces of Louis Beck, our friend. I probably need some younger men and women to share this vision
Yeah.
and who feel that they have the physical abilities to ride around in a car, in a Lincoln Town car is what I'm thinking. One driver in the back always sleeping, one driver always driving, one driver talking to the driver.
And you'd be okay if it was 2 younger women.
I don't care, man, woman. If you can drive,
No,
you got a
you're
driver's
talk-
license.
You're talking to me.
Yeah, I understand. You got a driver's license. Hey, look,
You want to go
that's
with 2 guys.
you know that's really
yeah.
a stupid question. That would be like saying to an astronaut, "Do you mind if it's a woman in the capsule with you?" Who the hell cares about that? You're
Well,
focused
because she's
on.
wearing the spacesuit. What
Well,
difference
let them
does
wear
it make?
spacesuits. I don't care. I'm about doing something that's important.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Something that's important.
Yes.
I like the podcast and all that, and it's very lucrative for me, but I
Yeah.
want to do something that's important.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you something, because you know stuff that a lot of us don't know, and because you're so well read. And so there is this thing in our Constitution called a constitutional convention. And we read about it in the school books years ago. And I know you have to have, like, I don't know, 2/3 of the states have to pass it, and then it takes more to actually turn what they come up with from the constitutional gathering into something. And then you told me the other day that there are actually, I was stunned, a whole bunch of states where the legislatures have already voted on the gathering of a constitutional convention in those states. Is that accurate? Do I have that right?
You have it exactly right.
What's going on with this?
And it's kind of scary. And the scariest part, at least initially, is because it's going on so quietly. My guess is 99.9% of Americans don't even know this is happening. And it started, let me give a little background how we got to where we are. But the issue is a constitutional amendment, a constitutional convention to amend the Constitution. That means they could alter the Bill of Rights. They could alter anything in the Constitution if they get the votes. We've never had one before. We've never had a state-sponsored constitutional convention. Now, bear with me while I try to draw a line through all of this. A few years ago, 2 decades ago, Hillary Clinton was complaining about the right-wing conspiracy when they were going after a bill for the Monica Lewinsky thing. And she talked about the right-wing conspiracy, and people jumped on her. What right-wing conspiracy? Well, the truth is, she was right, but not in a sinister way. There has been a right-wing conspiracy, which all that means is more than two people getting together and conspiring to do something. You can have a conspiracy to do something good. The right-wing conspiracy, though, probably started at about the time of Barry Goldwater. What I mean by that is up until he came about in 1964, for about 30 years, starting with the Depression, America had become very liberal in its philosophy. We had Roosevelt with the New Deal. We had Social Security. We had Medicare. We had LBJ following with the Great Society. When Kennedy's assassinated, then he comes up with the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the Equal Rights Amendment. In other words, America was starting to shift clearly, becoming very liberal in terms of big government a way to solve issues. The whole culture was becoming more and more liberal. Well, there were some right-wing people that didn't like it. In fact, they even saw Republican presidents just accepting the liberal way of life as mainstream. So Dwight Eisenhower never questioned having Social Security. He never questioned the New Deal. He was really, today's standards, he was really pretty liberal. In fact, the issue with the Republican Party, why there's this suddenly right wing trying to take over the party, is they have been disappointed by their candidates, by their own party. So Goldwater came along really in response, not to the Democrats, but really in response to Dwight Eisenhower and Richard Nixon as his vice president, how the Republican Party was just accepting everything that happened with the New Deal. And now Lyndon Johnson is the president, and he runs against Lyndon Johnson because we have the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, and he wants the Republican Party not to be Rockefeller, not to be George Romney, not to be Richard Nixon, who the right wing viewed as way too liberal domestically. And the truth is, Richard Nixon was. Richard Nixon, by today's standards, would be an absolutely moderate Republican. He was pretty good on civil rights, actually. So that was what Goldwater was about. He got trounced in the general election, but he started to take over the Republican Party. Then, because he was trounced, they get Nixon. They're disappointed with Nixon. Nixon with the EPA. Nixon going to China. Wait a second, what's happening to the right-wing philosophy? They even were unhappy with Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan, was talking about, well, we had the growth of government even under Reagan, the increase in taxes under Reagan. Reagan dealing with the Soviet Union. And of course, as I said, with Nixon going to China. With Bush, they were really unhappy. Bush went against his promise, read my lips, no new taxes. So the right wing has tried to take over the Republican Party. That's where their great fight is. It's not with the Democrats. It's with the Republican Party taking as a starting point that they're not going to mess with Social Security. Nobody messes with Medicare. This is America now, mainstream, basically liberal. Even though we give conservative speeches, we live liberally. The whole culture is becoming liberal. Gay marriage, an African-American president, the whole demographics of America. And this is ticking off that right wing. So what did they do starting with Goldwater? first thing they did was start organizing to win local races. They started in the 1960s organizing to win races for state government, state legislative races. Democrats didn't do that. The Republicans did. And they gained control of the state houses in most of the states. What does that mean? The Republicans get to draw the congressional districts. And so now we have districts where no one is challenged anymore in the primaries. And if you're a Republican, you've got a safe district. All you have to do is stay conservative, and you'll win your party's primary, and the district is yours. The Democrats went along with it. Why did they go along with it? They wanted to have black representation in Congress. So they were okay that when the lines were drawn, all the blacks were put into one district in the inner city, where they would win 90% of the votes. So you knew you were going to get black representatives, but there wouldn't be enough Democratic votes left in the suburban areas to win any of the other seats. So even though most Americans vote Democrat, Congress is overwhelmingly Republican and will remain so. That was their strategy. Now they've got the Congress. The Senate will always be somewhat conservative, even if the Democrats get it. The reason is because the way the Senate was created by our forefathers is that every state gets 2 senators. So a state like Idaho, which is obviously conservative, rural, or Utah, or Montana, or Wyoming, all those states get 2 senators. New York and California, they only get 2. So even though most people vote Democrat, the Senate will always have a great conservative base. Even if a Democrat gets elected from states like Montana or Wyoming or Utah or whatever, it has to be a conservative Democrat. So you never get great liberalism coming out of the Senate anymore, even if the Democrats get control. So the right wing, okay, we got the Republican Party. We got the Congress because of the redistricting we've done. We've got the state houses. The Senate, even if we lose, we've got enough conservative votes there that we don't have to worry too much about the Senate. What's left? The demographics are such that it's going to be very hard for Republicans to elect presidents anymore. America has become much less white. There's one thing they still want to do. They're not sure they can control the Supreme Court. They want a constitutional convention. Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution says that if 2/3 of the states, which amount to 34 states, if the state legislatures in 2/3 of the states, or if the state has a local convention, if they call for a constitutional convention, there has to be one. 2/3 of the states call for a constitutional convention, there has to be one. Then that constitutional convention, what they're calling for now, is a constitutional convention to have a balanced budget amendment. They want to amend the U.S. Constitution so that Congress has to balance the budget every single year. Well, you know how impossible that is unless they cut basically every domestic program. And in tough economic times, how can you have a stimulus program? If there is a crisis, how are you going to be able to fund that? Basically, it is a wonderful way to cut all the social programs, particularly for poor people. So that's the amendment they want. So they want a constitutional convention. They only need 34 states. Do you know that 28 states have already passed it? They only need 6 more to have, and we're going to have, for the first time in American history, a state-sponsored constitutional convention. They only need 6 more. There are still 7 states who haven't voted on that have Republican legislatures. So the chances are in the next 2 or 3 years, they will have enough. We will have 2/3 of the states calling for the convention. Now, admittedly, once you have the convention and they pass a resolution for whatever amendment they want, it doesn't get to be the law unless 3/4 of the states pass it. And that would take 38 states. But to have the convention and to have even the proposal there to amend our Constitution, they only need 6 more states. Now, we've never had this constitutional convention before, so we don't know what the rules are. We have to make them up. Excuse me. Once you have the constitutional convention, who's to say that they'll only deal with a balanced budget amendment? What's to stop that convention from saying, you know what, while we're at it, let's outlaw abortion. While we're at it, let's rescind the First Amendment and make some changes so that we don't have to let Muslims into the country. They could write an amendment which says that on certain religions, you have to pass a certain test of allegiance before we let you in. They could make that a constitutional amendment. They could change anything in the Constitution. 6 more states. No one even knows it. Have you seen one program on any of the cable news networks? Maybe there's been one. I haven't seen it. No one's talking about this. In the next 2 or 3 years, we could have it. If we don't have a Democrat president, if we don't have Hillary, who can hopefully get through a Supreme Court justice, I'm telling you, they could change the whole Supreme Court. They could pass an amendment which says, you know what? We are going to change whatever the Supreme Court has passed. We're going to just pass an amendment. So then the Supreme Court can't say it's unconstitutional. That is the danger we're facing. It is part of the right-wing strategy, which started, number 1, get control of the state houses so you can draw congressional districts and get control of Congress. 2, get control of the governorships. 3, get control of the Republican Party. And finally, let's have a constitutional convention to amend the Constitution to get exactly the kind of country we want. And the rest of us are just sleeping. That's what's got to change.
That's very, very instructive, Jerry. Very instructive. Let me ask you a question. I think you're giving up on the idea too quickly. Let's go back to unlimited mileage for a second to set the Guinness Book of Record. You don't think that would get huge coverage, week-long coverage, morning zoo disc jockeys, Facebook Live? I could do that the entire week because you go on for 90 minutes, log out, go back on again. The children, just like when astronauts go to the moon, they did science experiments that were shared in schools, gas mileage calculations, how many meals does it take to keep a grown man awake? I mean, clothing. You could test clothing designs, materials, synthetics to see.
In a rental car?
In a rental car. You could do things of deodorants. There's so many things. You have no vision. You have no vision. Let me ask Jerry if Dana Sipos, and Jim, knock on the green room door. I think she might be, she's right here, excuse me. I'm going to ask Dana Sipos to come up. Let's give her a round of applause. She's an entertainer, a roots music performer, and as she's coming up and getting at a place, let me tell you some things about her. We are real excited to have her. She is Canadian. She is here from Canada. She's on a national tour and is performing, among other places, locally at a place called Southgate Revival, which is a wonderful venue in northern Kentucky. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her music in a second, but Dana, do a song for us.
All right, I would love to.
Are people in Canada worried about Trump?
Yeah, we are worried. I think it's Cape Breton, actually, and on the East Coast that has said, like, any political refugees from America, open door policy.
Right, we looked it up on the website.
Yeah.
And that first week that they put it up there, this is true. Mickey and I looked it up, 600,000 hits from people that are ready to move to Canada. Yeah.
It's an incredibly beautiful place as well.
It won't be after we all come there.
I'll vouch for you guys. For you guys.
Right.
This is called Blue Ridge. below. All the secrets of the hollows are in the echoes. I wanna sing an old time tune, wanna sing till the hills are singing too, though my body's not from this place. Though I've had, Lord, but a taste, I long for the Blue Ridge. Oh, the fires burned that summer, and the highway was glowing red. Said my prayers from the mast of the tallest ship, and I didn't look back. Down to the belly of the beast, was it feast or famine or something in between? All the storehouses, plenty or empty, didn't listen to them prophecies. And all them busboys and them poets take their places at the table like kings, with their mead and with their pen. They sing the dirges of the dead. I wanna sing an old time tune, wanna sing till the hills are singing too, though my body's not from this place. Though I've had, Lord, but a taste, I long for the Blue Ridge. Bound for the promised land, got the bow of my canoe kissing Grand River to the Six Nations reservation, reserved for the grand and the few. Slow going through the oxbow, but a murder of crows and kingfisher go to show. You just gotta show up, and sometimes that's enough. I wanna sing an old time tune, wanna sing till the hills are singing too, though my body's not from this place. Though I've had, Lord, but a taste, I long for the Blue Ridge. Thank you.
That's Dana Sipos, and by the way, you can hear her music at danasipos.com, and I'm going to spell it for you. It's DANASIPOS.com, and she has a lot of stuff on YouTube, and she's headed for Nashville, correct? And that's a Muddy Roots festival, is it not? You record for Muddy Roots.
Yeah, I've been on the label for just over a year or so, and it's a really, awesome label based in Nashville, and they do festivals all over the world, actually, in Europe, and they started one in Brazil this year, and so, the festival is on the June Bug Boogie Ranch in Cookeville, Tennessee, and it's a really fun time. So I'll be playing a few festivals and just shows on the way down and back up to Canada. So
Okay, well, we're really glad we got you here, Dana, very much. And we were talking before the podcast, and you guys have to know she does some touring that I've never heard of before, and you have a name for it. I'm talking about the tours you've done where everybody's on bicycles, a biking tour, a music tour, carrying your instruments. There's no chase car.
Yeah,
everybody has carrying guitars and whatever, and clothing, etc.
While you're riding your bike?
And the entire PA system is on the bike as well.
On someone else's bike. So everybody has a bike carrying various stuff there.
Yeah, all
Does
the
anybody
bikes
play
are
the bass
fully
fiddle?
loaded.
Yeah.
That would have been an extra
Yeah.
trailer, But the other cool thing is that so we carry all the gear, the instruments and the sound equipment, and then the sound system is actually pedal powered. It's bicycle powered as well.
That's
so someone
amazing.
from the audience is up pedaling, and that's what powers
Running
the
a
sound
generator,
system.
basically,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
a sort of on-demand generator in the bike. So.
And you did it with bicycles. You also did it with canoes. This was in Canada, I take it. where
Yeah,
you're
all of
from.
them in Canada, yeah.
And you did it with canoes. You also did it with tall ships.
Yeah, actually, the tall ship tour was in America.
Okay.
But with the Canadian, this was at the theater company that's also toured on this tall ship all over the world. But we were toured from Florida to New York on a tall ship doing these it was a kind of anarchist circus style theater show on the tall ship, and then the audience will watch from the port. And
That is a great
so,
idea.
yeah,
That's
I like to
amazing.
get out of the vehicle as much as possible. Not that I wouldn't support your.
I hear you.
your
Thank
quest.
you, sister. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It takes a Canadian to share
I would
this
offer to
vision.
join, except I need to get out and play shows along the way.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it
we
wouldn't
could work
Plus-
that. Yeah. Make it a 2-week.
Plus, you have a brain.
I'm trying to be polite. It's the Canadian in me. You
Why
know.
would you do that?
Yeah.
Hey, do a second song for us, would you
All
please?
right, I would love to. Yeah, this is a
Anna Sipos.
new tune called "Lean Times." Jingle in the morning, jangle when you're trying to get some sleep. Tell me, how did this sorrow get so deep? Well, it sits there in your lungs like a bedded down beauty queen who's seen her prime, seen it pass her by. Now she's hanging on. I see you're hanging on. We're all just hanging on for dear, dear life. Well, it's ravens in the morning, crow when you got somewhere to be. Well, after all, you're the company key. Down at the bodega, we saw our lives creep before our eyes, and the heat of the day hung heavy with our hearts. Now you're pushing your luck each day till noon, and I pray you still give a blessed Now we're living off the vapors and keeping up our holy work. Put in one goddamn foot in front of the other. Well, I see you there in the corner, all but your shoulder dislocated. For everyone to lean on but your daughters. But your prodigal son will be okay. Well, again, I pray it'll all just be okay. In the meantime, in these lean times, you can find me behind some more rib cage.
Nice. It's really good writing, Dana. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
So you write this.
Yeah, these are all original tunes. Yeah.
How do you get to where you are? In other words, and I'm not just blowing smoke here, the talent level. I mean, I don't know if I'm I'm listening to the strumming. I go, oh, wow. And then I hear your voice, how it modulates, and then the words. Do you start out as a teenager and you're sitting in your room and you spend a lot of
That's
time
exactly
alone?
it.
You must. I mean,
really?
because I can't imagine a whole bunch of people around while you're doing that.
Oh yeah,
It's
no,
alone time.
very much alone. Yeah, and alone in my room. And even when I was like slowly starting to play for family, like they needed to kind of turn around. And as you'll notice, like I keep my eyes. It's much easier for me to keep my eyes closed when I play.
Is that in your bloodline? I mean, a family of musicians and.
Yeah, well, I grew up with my mom singing to me constantly. Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen. Like grew up
That's
with a lot of
Joni.
songs.
I was
and
trying to think. It's
yeah,
Joni
Canadian,
Mitchell.
all
Yeah.
Canadians, and my dad is a poet, kind of a prolific poet. So
Wow.
although I didn't like quite grow up with him, like I think it's
in there now.
it's there.
DNA.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Would you take us out, and this is going to be wonderful, because
talking
we're going
about
to have
talent.
Canada join America and sing Lead Belly's Irene Goodnight. And Jerry Springer will actually do the second verse if you'll let him.
of course. Thank
All
you
right.
so much for having me.
Thanks for coming by.
Great having you. It's a treat.
Dana Sipos.
Stop your gambling, stop your rambling. Oh, well, shoot. I mean, maybe is it okay if I start again?
No.
Quit your gambling, quit your rambling. This is sort of a Canadian like take on the classic tune. Quit your staying out, oh shoot, oh your family. Oh, let's skip maybe right to the chorus, shall we? Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. See you in my dreams.
Sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I take a great notion to jump in the river and drown. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Sorry about the first verse.
Thanks, everybody.